The Detroit Pistons are historically terrible. I usually make videos about teams doing well, but no, the Pistons are an absolute garbage organization and a garbage team. I know that's a pretty aggressive way to start, but I need you guys to understand that the Pistons won 0 games in December, and we're already 10 days into December, and this team has still not won a game. And there's a possibility that they go 2 straight months without winning a game. There's also a possibility that this team goes down as the worst team in NBA history. But hold on, let's look into this a little bit. At the time of recording this video, the Detroit Pistons are 2-20 right now. And if you want context on what is the worst way to start a season within the first 22 games, well, the worst record is 1-21. There have been 4 teams in NBA history to start off their season 1-21. The Detroit Pistons are luckily 1 win better than that, so let's give them a little congratulations, because that's probably the only props I'm going to give this team in this video. Now, if you've known about the Detroit Pistons past couple years, you know that they've been in this rebuilding stage. You know, after drafting Cade Cunningham and slowly all the draft picks they've been making, they've been on a track as far as their rebuild has gone, and it's clear to say that this rebuild hasn't gone that well. And I know rebuilds take time, they're not always going to go perfect, but for context, the Oklahoma City Thunder started their rebuild about 3 years ago. The Pistons, they've been doing theirs for around the same time. So it's clear to see that those 2 teams have taken way 2 different paths. But listen, I understand it, rebuilds aren't going to be perfect, but I don't think the Pistons were supposed to be this bad. In fact, I think some thought because of the offseason they had, they were going to take a small leap. Now, did I think they were going to make the playoffs? Hell no. But I thought they were going to at least win more games than they did last year. I mean, they had a pretty solid offseason. Getting Monty Williams was a very important move that I thought was going to help this team a lot. But it turns out Monty Williams is not a coach you put on a rebuilding team. I know some might say, oh, but the Phoenix Suns, they were a rebuilding team when he joined them. Yeah, I don't know about that, because a rebuilding team is not 1 player away from making the finals. Like, for context, if you switch that Pistons and Suns team and you give the Pistons Chris Paul, they're not making the finals. I know Chris Paul can work magic and every team he joins make the playoffs, but that's just not a reality. Not this Detroit team. They're that bad. And circling back to Monty Williams, it's not to say he's a bad coach. As a diehard Phoenix Suns fan, I'm always going to have love for Monty Williams wherever he goes. But like I said, I don't think this is where you put him. I know he got a bag and he's going to be just fine, but you don't put him on a rebuilding team. Instead, Monty Williams does way better on teams that are trying to win championships. In Detroit, well, they're kind of far away from that, to say the least. Now, I'm not even going to say Monty Williams was the worst move they've made, because these past couple years, oh my God, where do you want me to start? Detroit has made so many bad moves and so many bad decisions. I'm just going to go down this list that I have and kind of just talk about all of them one by one. I think the first one is arguably the worst player in the NBA to a lot of people, and that's Killian Hayes. Now, I wouldn't even be that mad about the Killian Hayes move because, you know, a lot of people fuck up their draft picks. It's fine. We're not perfect. But after realizing that Detroit was going to take Tyrese Halliburton or Killian Hayes, like they had to make a decision between the 2, and now we're seeing what Tyrese Halliburton has done, yeah, it's kind of funny to think how bad Detroit fumbled that. I think something else we need to talk about is the Jaden Ivey / Killian Hayes situation. Jaden Ivey had a pretty solid rookie year, I would say. He averaged about 16 points and he showed he can be a promising scorer in this league. However, this season he's seen a dip in production, whether it's his minutes, his points per game. Overall, he's just not playing how he did last year. And a big reason for that is because Detroit is giving him very inconsistent minutes. And instead what they're choosing to do is start Killian Hayes over him. Why they're doing that, I don't know. I feel like Killian Hayes is a project that you should kind of just like kill off and stop doing. Ivy has shown potential, Hayes has not. It's a very simple concept. I don't think a basketball genius needs to tell you. And I know what some Pistons fans might say, oh, but Killian Hayes is playing the best basketball he's ever played. This is his best? This is what you want as a... This is terrible. Even though Ivy has clearly seen dip in his production, I would say he's better than Killian Hayes at his best right now. I'm sorry, but I don't know why people are trying to defend Killian Hayes or make it seem like this is a good idea. It is not. I don't even know why Monty is trying to do something with Killian Hayes. Is he like the Landry Shamet of this team? What the fuck do you see in him? I don't see anything. I think the only legitimate reason why Ivy is not starting is because of his defense, and that's fair. However, Jaden Ivey is a very young player and he's someone that is going to eventually develop into a solid defensive player if he just keeps working at it. But at the same time, didn't you just draft Asar Thompson, which is someone we're definitely going to talk about? Like, I think Ivy could develop into a great defender, but you already got some guys on the defensive side like Jalen Duren. He's someone we're going to talk about in this video. Quite frankly, I just don't see what you're trying to do with Killian Hayes and why Jaden Ivey is now getting his production ruined. Like, clearly you're fucking with his development, and I don't know if Detroit realizes that. All right, I think you guys knew it was pretty inevitable, but we got to talk about Cade Cunningham. But first, gentlemen, we are 69 subs, nice, away from 20,000 subscribers. Gentlemen, if you want to make history, make sure y'all subscribe to the channel right now. And while you're down there, leave a like on the video, man. Each like is a prayer to get Killian Hayes off this basketball team. And Detroit fans, you're probably going to want to like this video like a million times. So Cade Cunningham, that's a discussion. Cade Cunningham is arguably the brightest spot on this team, but at the same time, he has been a problem for Detroit. Like, there's typically these rebuilding teams where they have that one-star player that is very good and clearly better than everyone, but you don't really see something where you have a star player and he's great, but he's also a problem for the team. Like, statistically, in his third season, Cade Cunningham is having his best season so far, but it's like Killian Hayes. This is the best you can do. Like, of course, we can look at the box score and say, oh, he's averaging about 22 points per game. That's good. But first of all, look at how he's shooting from the field. It's god-awful. Number two, something that I think is very interesting is, yes, he is one of the best in the league when it comes to getting assists, at least statistically, but he also has one of the worst assist to turnover ratios I've ever seen. Not to mention, he's just not a good defender, and you know, defense is something that Detroit is desperately going to need if they want to be a great team. They got two great defensive players in the starting lineup in Jalen Durham and Asar Thompson, but after that, I have no confidence in this team's defense. But again, we'll get to that. Now, am I trying to give the benefit of the doubt to Cade Cunningham because of what happened last year, how he dealt with injuries for basically the entire season, and now he's like kind of slowly coming back? But at the same time, we're like, what, 25 games into the season almost? Like, I don't know, I feel like you should kind of already be warmed up and be in the groove, but clearly he just has not been the same player. I think this is starting to have some people call him a bust and say he's been one of the worst #1 picks in the past 5 years. And I'm not gonna lie, even before I knew Cade was doing this bad, I would kind of agree. I don't know, something about Cade Cunningham, I never really thought he was that good of a #1 pick. Like, I know he was the easy #1 pick, he was the guy everyone was saying to take, but at the same time, nothing really impressed me about him. And that might sound crazy, but I'm sorry, I'm just not really blown away by him. I'm gonna be optimistic, and not really this season because Detroit's gonna be bad for the rest of the season, but maybe in the future he'll get better as a player. Maybe he'll start shooting more efficiently, maybe he'll get better on defense, maybe he'll stop turning over the ball as much. But now that we've talked about a lot of negatives, let's actually try to get into some positives. I'd say there's really two positives on this team that I think are worth even talking about, with I'd say the honorable mention of Bogdan Bogdanovic. But Jalen Durham and Asar Thompson, those are two players really worth talking about. I'm gonna start with Durham. I love Durham. I think he's going to be one of the best centers in the NBA. I just think he needs a little bit more time to develop. He's a great shot blocker, he's a great rebounder, and he's exactly what Detroit needs. He is having a great second year, averaging about 12 and 11 while shooting 63% from the field. He's a fucking dog. The unfortunate reality is he keeps dealing with injuries, which fucking sucks because, like I've said, he's a fucking dog. But if he could stay healthy, I think Durham is going to be the best player for this Pistons team as far as defensive wise. But I don't know, maybe there's another guy that could be taking that spot, because Asar Thompson has been incredible his rookie season as far as defensively. I don't think it's crazy to say Asar Thompson is the best defensive rookie we've seen in the NBA, and if he does take time to develop and get better, he could be one of the best perimeter defenders we've seen. Now, so far, he hasn't been the best shooter, but I feel like a lot of rookies go through that, so I'm not even really tripping. I feel like his jump shot is something he could work on, but even if he doesn't, who gives a shit? He's a great defender. You already have Cade Cunningham, which if he can start to be efficient, that'll be fine. And I think if they start Jaden Ivey, they'll be fine on scores. I'm not gonna say Thompson's gonna average like 5 points per game, but he doesn't need to be a great scorer. Just focus on defense and this man is going to be great, I promise you. Now, I think the most important question of this video is, when the hell is this team going to win a game? I think they actually play tonight, and I swear to God, if they fucking win tonight when I drop this video, I'm going to be fucking livid. I'm looking at their schedule, and maybe December 26th, you know, Brooklyn, but I don't know, I feel like Cam Thomas is gonna go for 50. Shit, maybe San Antonio on January 10th. January 15th, they play the Wizards. That's when they're going to win. I don't know. There's a legitimate chance this team breaks the record for the worst losing streak in an NBA season. And the funny part about this is they're not even gonna get a top 3 pick because of it.